Let's get into that conversation a little bit more. We are joined in the studio by the ANC's Mahlengi Bhengu, who joins us now to let's perhaps get a sense of what can be said that's perhaps different from previous years, and maybe even the sentiment that could be delivered from here on. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it, and for joining us this morning. It's about 12 hours away, so it's a long day for a lot of us, one can imagine. What can be said today that hasn't been said before, that could change things, that could be different? Because it's now about making a difference, surely.
Absolutely. You know, I really got enthused last night as I was following a panel discussion that was hosted by one of yourselves. I won't mention the media house, looking at, and these are independent economists that were having a bit of a back and forth, good discussion, rich discussion about really, are there any green shoots? Are there new things that the president is likely to offer to South Africans by way of commitments made in the year 2025? Because when you come to the State of the Nation addresses every year, you've got to be able to track whether we're coming to hear the same thing.
Yes.
And there's some sort of cynicism among sections of society about we're coming to hear same old, same old. But I was really enthused as a spokesperson of the ANC, because people such as personalities such as Professor Andre Roux from the University of Stellenbosch and other academics and economists and researchers saying actually the president this time around has a lot to say about what has been done to implement the 2025 SONA commitments, making several references here. And one of those references is the work that is being done to turn the economy around. And of course, this is consistent with that commitment that we also made as the ANC in our January 8th statement, where we say we need to fix local government in order to meet the basic needs of not some of our people, but all of our people. Yeah. And then to be able to do that, we need an economy that supports development and that supports inclusive growth. They made references to the turnarounds in, for example, revenue collection, in the South African Revenue Services. That is unmatched in many years as possible. And that bodes well for the goal of building, of making sure that there's inclusive growth. They made references to the kind of trade pacts, including now sealed agreements, in the direction of bolstering foreign direct investment into South Africa and making sure that the industries that can be maximized are maximized. And the one example, of course, is the latest China-South Africa deal, the best in history.
And I think, there's a lot to be said about all those, and one cannot actually downplay them and their significance. But a lot of South Africans might listen to what you've just said and just say, well, that's high level. That hasn't gotten me a job. That hasn't cleared out my sanitation and given me water that I actually need in my household. That actually hasn't really, at this point, fixed my financial standing in this country. And so it's about that trickle down. When does that begin to get felt and the effect actually seen?
You know, if I had the time, I would just walk you through, if we talk about water, which is the current burning platform in South Africa, and to establish whether government has been doing the necessary. Again, I go back to the 2025 commitments we made in relation to bringing water security among our people. Important for dignity and not just sanitation. Sanitation is dignity, water is life. Yes. So we expect as the ANC that the president is going to tell the people of Limpopo what has been done to make sure that the Giyane water project, where major investments had been injected into that project, what has been done to ensure that more communities in and around where the Giyane water project is located have benefited. How many villages have benefited? What has been done? What are the setbacks? Because we must also speak about the setbacks. We, as the ANC, expect the president to talk about the Umzimvubu water project. Have we made successes? That is the trickle down you're talking about, my brother, because at the end of the day, If a report, a State of the Nation address doesn't say, you know, we had 100 communities without water in February 2025. Today, 36 villages somewhere in that community, in that jurisdiction, are now receiving constant supply of water. That is how you measure whether a government is hard at work or not. There's a lot of narratives flying above around the fact that there is no work that is sufficient work that is being done to ensure water security. I can tell you the amount of work that has been put into water security is significant. We are going to be having the State of the Nation address this evening. We're unlikely to see ministers such as Majudina, David Mahlobo, Deputy Minister, Dixon Masemula Kokta. They are being instructed by the President to sit in Johannesburg and other parts of the world, solve these issues. They've been visible. They've been talking to communities. They have been taking all the complaints by communities and everything that has been going there, which also includes lots of investments by government and the city and the province. That also includes vandalism. There's now a new pattern of vandalism of transformers, of pipes, which must be investigated by the democratic
Let's actually
state.
go into all of that if we then can, because your counterpart at the DA has made note of something that one might agree with in many respects, and says South Africa doesn't have a financial problem, meaning that there is money in the fiscus for us to put plans together. The problem that we have is actually corruption, which goes to your vandalism issue, which goes to your setbacks issue that you made note of as well a little bit earlier. Why does that continue to still be our biggest setback? President Cyril Ramaphosa had said when he first came in that Tumamina, he would be marching onto this corruption facet. And till this day, 10th State of the Nation address now, and still corruption continues to plague our country.
If you had a different government in South Africa in 5 years from now, and you have not sufficiently rallied the call for collective community agency, you will continue to blame the ANC-led government. It is our own communities that turn their blind eye sometimes, and this is really, really exceptions, but we do have those of our people that do not protect community assets.
Some out of desperation, though, because they maybe
Well, I
don't
suppose,
have.
well, if we were to use that analogy, then it means crime in South Africa is allowed. I'm allowed that when I don't have water, I can go and burst the entire transformer system. I'm allowed to go and extort a project and say, this project cannot continue until I've got a stake of 30%.
Sure.
So we also need to be balanced in our analysis.
And I agree with that fully. But
know,
one might say that if we then don't deal with giving people jobs, giving people access to the economy as a whole, they then resort to that as a final measure, right? And that becomes the issue.
Well, absolutely, granted. And that is why our interventions in terms of service delivery have got to be holistic. Access to education, growing the economy so that it becomes an inclusive economic growth, not just economic growth, that doesn't change the overall structure of our economy, that does not absorb young people, for example, into gainful employment, including self-employment. And so, to go back to your fundamental point, what we expect the President to articulate in this State of the Nation address is a comprehensive package, because we can't look at one issue in isolation of the other. I just thought to speak to the water issue because, as I said, it's a burning platform, and also to assure the people of South Africa that a whole lot of work is being done to really turn that situation around. Municipal councillors and mayors are being held to account by Luthuli House on a weekly basis.
Sure.
There's a problem in Ward 4 or Ward 7, Middlelands. What is happening? Who is there to look at, causal factors? What needs to be done? Not next week. If people go without water, I'm talking about really genuine cases.
Sure.
Why it will take a month for a councillor to come forward to the municipality, escalate that matter, bring out the rapid response services of a municipality to go and attend to that matter. We do not have tolerance for that. We do wish to assure our people. We do not have tolerance for that, and we're pulling all stops to ensure that a matter gets attended to as in the here and now. Surely there's a backlog. But all the deployees of the African National Congress knows that there's a lot at stake for them individually once they lose an income as a consequence of not addressing the needs of our people.